This is Myers message number 2. I'm Steve Myers, candidate for mayor of Baton Rouge. Today we talk about what I consider to be one of the most fundamental questions a voter can ask himself about the candidates, and that is, what is the candidate's stance on the proper role of government? To help make my point, I'd like to read you first a couple of passages from a book by Scott Rasmussen entitled In Search of Self-Government, Governance. And that's a book that I recommend to everyone. On page 17, Rasmussen quotes James Madison, who, as we all know, was the primary author of the Federalist Papers and the Constitution. Rasmussen writes that Madison recognized something that just about everybody in government today forgets, and that is, the government does not run the country. It is one institution among many that makes a governing society work. So in other words, government is a means to an end. And the end was not designed to serve the needs of those in power or the powerful in society. It was designed to support a self-governing society. At its most basic level, that means that people should govern themselves first and not rely on government to do everything. We've gotten off track when we picture government as telling everyone what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and then punishing them if they don't follow some really sometimes stupid rules. He writes that government has become like a playground where the bully beats the lunch money out of the weaker person, and of course that lunch money would be in the form of taxes, fees, user fees, service fees, convenience fees, fines, penalties, enough. I also believe in the principle of subsidiarity, and that is that the individual does first for himself, and what the individual can't do for himself, the family is there for him, and then he turns to the extended family, the church, the neighborhood, maybe the local government, state government, and then federal government. We must not forget that government is only one institution in society, but one of many. Does this mean no government? Of course not. But it means that government must be restrained and act only with the consent of the governed, without succumbing to what I call the pitchfork crowd, or for the benefit of only special interests, when those interests trample on the rights of the minority. We need to recognize that civil liberties and private property rights are encroached upon not only at the federal and state level, but at the local level as well. Now, the Civil Code of Louisiana mentions all kinds of different types of contracts, but two that I like are the contract to do and the contract not to do. Now, if citizens had similar contracts with their government, what would they be, especially the local government? Well, the contract to do would require that the government simply provide the basic service people wanted that they could not do on their own. Build roads and bridges, clear ditches, move traffic, provide sewage treatment and water. All of this in an efficient, cost-effective manner, period. That's the most basic contract with our local government. What would the contract not to do be? Well, government would not be telling you who you can live with, whether you can rent your private property. They wouldn't be involved in your private contracts of lease, what you do with your customers, whether the taco truck can park on your property or not, whether you have to paint your house, all kinds of things that the government decides to get involved with where they really don't have any business. So yes, government has a role, but it's a limited role. This little document right here, the Constitution of the United States, people forget that this applies to local government as well as the federal government, and they are intended to protect people's liberties and rights from government intrusion. Now, instead, we see more and more attempts at coercion and confiscation of your property by tax and regulation, which may work in the short term, but ultimately, getting people to act in their own self-interest usually provides a longer-lasting impact. Locally, we're often subject to the desires of the planners and large developers, while the mom and pop who's trying to make ends meet and wants to basically be left alone sees his rights trampled but doesn't have the ability to fight back. I'm fortunate to be in a position to fight for right. This is one reason I'm running for mayor. It's to take our city back not only from the criminal but from the government itself. I'll be one of us, not one of them. We need local government. We need to pay for it cheerfully for the services we want. Government needs to realize that sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. I know that's very hard for government to do because people sometimes will say, well, what have you done? I would like to hear, we haven't done anything. People are governing themselves well. There's nothing we need to do. Government needs to stay in its lane. It needs to stay between the lines. It needs to stay out of the ditches in areas that it doesn't belong. It needs to keep its focus on providing the services that a local government is supposed to provide. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the mayor. Over the next 40 days, you'll see this theme throughout our presentations. That is this something that local government first needs to be involved with? In the meantime, let me recommend two more items for homework. One of them is the book The Road to Serfdom by Friedrich Hayek. And the second one is a little paper entitled One Question to Ask Every Candidate. It's by a Dr. William F. Russell. This one will be on our website. One Question to Ask Every Candidate. You can sign up for these daily messages or go back and get the ones you missed on themyersmessage.com. Now you have a flavor for the Steve Myers position on the role of government. It's obviously a less government, less intrusive position. Now I want you to ask the other candidates where they stand on this issue. And until tomorrow, remember that Baton Rouge can be a nice place to live. We can make it better. And we don't necessarily need the government to be telling everyone what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Government needs to adhere to its proper role. We can make it happen. Join us again tomorrow as we get into the meat of all of the various issues over the next 40 days that affect Baton Rouge. Thank you.